let's talk about, we've all been talking to different investors. I'm sure we've come up, gotten some questions before. Let's kind of recoup on that and see what kind of questions are coming up. Life, any questions coming your way?
Yeah, I'd say one that has, based on all the conversations, I'll not to get too granular, but one that has come up a few times is, really wanting to know, skin in the game, what kind of capital is going to be invested by, our group and the key managers in the project.
Yeah, sure. So we went over that on the webinar. Mike and I have already put in a significant amount. I'd say probably right around 300K or more for earnest money and due diligence stuff. And so we're basically prepared to fill the gap. So whatever doesn't get filled by investors, but the reality is I think it'll all get filled by investors. So we'll see. But we're prepared to fill the gap. I'm preparing to potentially refinance some of my other properties and redeploy it over there to the new property. And I mean, but the reality is our reputation is worth way more than any dollar amount that we could make on a single deal, right? I mean, Mike and I have huge goals, and we're doing this. We're opening this up to investors because that's how we reach our goals. We want to do more deals. We know that if we show a great experience and a great return to our investors, they're going to want to do more with us, and they're going to tell people about it. And that's really what we are all about. Is we're trying to build something super cool. And you too, Life. I mean, we're all in this together. This is not a one and done for us. But we've got capital to deploy. So hey, we'll take it both ways. But the reality is, I think it's such a good deal that I don't think there'll be anything left. We'll see how it goes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely does. And it takes me, and I appreciate that very much, as confirming all that. And the more details, more transparency, the better, as always. But just to give a little feedback as to where these questions, questions coming from, is exactly that word. They've seen where having the right partner is worth its weight in gold. Definitely your track record speaks for itself. So definitely, the interest is there. The track record has proven itself, and they're really looking at this for that long-term partnership. Is okay if I'm getting in with these guys. They've got some skin in the game. They got the experience. Let's rock and roll here and move on to the next deal. So that's awesome. Appreciate
Cool.
the update.
Mike, what about you? What questions are coming your way?
Yeah, so I've had one investor reach out, and this is really a question for you, Pete. I know we've discussed it and we've answered it, but just I'm sure other investors are going to want to know too. Just our communication. What are we going to expect on our ongoing communication? Sample monthly, quarterly updates, things like that.
Yeah. So my general rule of thumb is quarterly updates, and so right now I'm getting ready to do them for my other partnerships. We shoot out an email and we go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hopefully there's not too much ugly, but it's basically, this is what we've done in the last quarter. This is what's worked. This might be, what are our challenges right now? And this is what we're planning to do over the next few months. Usually we'll update based on our rents. What are we getting in rents in terms of what we projected, so on and so forth, how we're tracking. And the CapEx for sure will be a big part of this. So how we're tracking in terms of our overall budget, timing, turnover schedule, and stuff. So in the first year on a project like this, there's a lot of updates. There is. And so we might wind up doing more than a quarterly. But what I found is my investors, the people that have invested with me already, like they don't need to know every detail. They just need to know that we got it handled, right? And so that's really the goal. And if somebody wants a little bit more in-depth info, they could always reach out and call us. So long story short, my cadence is quarterly. If there's a reason or a purpose to fill people in more than quarterly, I do that, just discretionary. And then with that, we usually attach the financials, right? And so this is where we're at. Everybody gets to see the numbers on income, expenses, so on and so forth. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Absolutely. Appreciate that. And just to add to that communication, so I know some of the investors getting comfortable with you and I, Pete, especially partner on the deal. You and I are in freaking communication. We're texting, we're talking, we're getting on, webinars and Zoom meetings just like this one, recording the aspects of each particular part in this deal. So that's what we're doing every day on we're hitting our calendars nonstop. So it's great. So I just want investors to know that we're, thinking about everything, we're communicating efficiently, effectively with the whole team, and just making sure everything's all our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed.
Yeah, and we'll have Life helping us out on this one as well too. So, communication will be good, but I've found that most people they need to know that we've got things handled, and they need to know specifically when things aren't going as planned, right? If something's going south, that's when we want to over communicate for sure. But I always try to be as transparent as possible. Let's see. One of the questions I've gotten, I don't know if you guys have gotten, is if investors can use their IRA to invest. And so, yes, we can. And without going too much into a rabbit trail, you could set up a self-directed IRA, which allows you to pick and choose your investments. And it's something that I've utilized for many years. It's a cool program. But if you have an investor that wants to utilize that and they don't have a self-directed IRA, I've got a buddy here locally that owns the firm that I use, and so we can hook them up to set up that account. And it's pretty simple. It's a paperwork to open up the account. There's some minor fees involved, nothing too substantial. And then you send a paper to your existing IRA company like Vanguard or Fidelity, whatever it is. They transfer the funds to the new company, and the new company directs that into the investment. And so I've done it. We have somebody that can help hold your hand, essentially, walk you through it if it's something you want to do. And it's a great way to invest, actually. It really is. The other question,
I can even second that with the team that you mentioned, Pete, because you introduced me a while back as well. And I mean, they're top notch. They're great to work with. I mean, it's a real streamlined process.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll get people that will want to put in some money, like personally, I guess, with their non-retirement funds and also fund from their retirement. And you could do that as well. There's some regulations involved where maybe you can't do that if you're controlling the deal. But as an LP, you would just basically be investing as two separate LP entities. And so that is possible as well. Anyway, if anybody is curious about that or needs some help, then we could definitely set them up. What else?
What are you forecasting for an exit cap rate?
Oh, yeah, good question. Mike, what are we forecasting?
I believe our exit cap rate was a 5.02%. Mm-hmm. So yeah. With that 3% appreciation rate and 3% bump on rents, that's what it's looking like for our NOI. And I believe that's right in market. I really do. Now, I can't tell you about our purchase cap rate because you can project all kind of things, but I think we're spot on with that exit cap rate.
Yeah. So a little bit about our methodology on that, I guess, really is I think we're using a 6% cap rate roughly as like the market rate for a B plus quality product, right? And we just use a straight line 3% appreciation applied to that cap rate, which calculates out to be 5.02% cap rate. And so that's what's applied to the NOI in year 6. And basically what it comes down to is it projects an exit value around $9 million. Okay, so over 6 years, I think it's pretty reasonable. Who knows what's going to happen in the next years for sure, but you've got to come up with some sort of methodology and reasoning behind it. And I feel like it's totally doable. What else?
Kind of going into timing and, coming as an LP as well, a couple questions on the tax side of things, meaning, when and what can be applied and what they could expect on any benefits, tax benefits.
Yeah, good point. So one of the reasons I love real estate is because you got real income and paper losses. And so generally the way the PPM is still being drafted, but generally the way that we write up the agreements is that all the investors get their pro rata share on straight line depreciation. Meaning, I'm not a CPA, but the depreciation is on a calculation that spreads out over 27 and a half years, I believe. And so that basically offsets, income. And so anyway, that would get shared on a pro rata basis. And then there's the bonus depreciation, which can be huge. So the way we do that is not everybody can benefit from bonus depreciation. Generally, if you're considered a real estate professional or you've got other passive income that you can offset, then you could benefit from it. So we'll do a cost seg study, and those who can benefit from it can participate. And so the cost is fairly minimal. So before we do that, we'll reach out and see who wants to participate. We'll split up that cost, and then those people will split up the benefit from the bonus depreciation. And so that calculation is different. It's changing this year compared to last year. But who knows what the new administration is going to do. But that's generally how we will shake that out. And the tax depreciation could be huge. I mean, there's a lot of wealthy people that buy real estate just for the tax depreciation. And just to give you an example of how powerful it can be, there's a property that I bought in March of last year, a 13 unit, not very big, but the cost segregation study cost $3,000. And the bonus depreciation above the straight line, the bonus depreciation was $300,000. Okay, so a $3,000 investment yields a $300,000 depreciation, meaning we've got an extra $100,000 to $120,000 that we're not going to pay the government in taxes that we can redeploy. And so we split that up between who can benefit and who wants to participate, but just goes to show the power of it. I don't know if this property will have that similar amount, but we'll have a lot of cost seg depreciation because of the renovation. So we've got to wait till it's done to do the study, but it's usually a very nice bonus.
That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'll be sure to update there, and appreciate that.
Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, Pete, what are the fees associated with the deals that the GP's getting, or if there's any other outstanding fees that will be associated with the property?
Yeah, great question. We actually didn't go over this in the webinar, but it's good to clarify. It's in our P&L that we posted. So, Mike, I know you asked me, but you know the fees, so why don't you answer that?
Yeah, so I know on our management side, we've got planned in conservatively at 10%. So we're looking, I know with the Class B type of property, we're trying to get it down to closer to 4 or 5%. So that's what's taken some time there.
But that's for third party property management, right?
Third party property management, correct. So I'll start there because I know I had some questions on that as well in the webinar. So I wanted to make sure that was answered. We did have an acquisition fee of 2%. We did have a construction fee built in to oversee the construction there, 1%. And
no, it's 10%.
Sorry, 10%. Sorry. Thanks, Pete, for that. Anything else that I'm missing there?
Yeah. So here's the fee structure. So 2% acquisition fee, right? That goes to us for all the work that we've been doing putting this together. Now, mind you, no realtors are getting paid in this deal. Generally, you're going to pay 3 to 6% realtor fees. Somebody's paying it, the seller or the buyer or a combination of both. There's none. We are direct to seller, and we're only charging a 2% acquisition fee. That's a deal in my book, right? 10% construction management fee. Some operators will pay a third party to do that. We're going to do that in-house, but that's basically for Mike's time, for the most part, and mine, to manage the project and get it done as cheap and as quick as possible. 2% asset management fee ongoing off of the income. And so that's for managing the manager and doing all of the ownership type management. And then what else? There's a 1% disposition fee. So upon the sale or refinance, there's extra work that you need to do to facilitate a closing. It's a 1% fee. So that's the fee schedule. It's listed in our P&L, and it'll be in the PPM docs. And it's right in line with industry standard. There's nothing out of the ordinary other than the fact that there's no realtor fees. You know what I mean? Like, even if the seller pays for them, they want to recoup that on the sale price. So we could have easily tried to slide in a realtor fee for ourselves, and we didn't do that. Okay. Cool. Good questions, guys. What else?
Is there a minimum hold period? And what happens if I exit?
There you go. Yeah. So everybody's got to plan on a 6-year hold. And there are life events that come up, but it is not easy or cheap to exit this investment. This is not designated to be an investment that you can sell on the resale market. Now, in the PPM, there will be a clause for somebody, because there is emergencies that happen, but there's fees involved and it's not easy. So I'll just put it that way. So if that's a concern, definitely read through the docs. There is a way to do that, but it's not ideal and it's not easy and it's not cheap. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
What else?
I think we've covered a lot of it for the most part. I've got all the marketing materials being received really well. So I think the team did a great job there. Not trying to pull a buzzer beater, but just quick reminder, I do have that call with one of our potential investors here in less than 60 seconds. So I don't want to be tardy to that call, but I think like Mike said, let's keep the communication rolling, and I'll keep you guys up to date just like we have been, and let the good times roll. I'm really stoked about the trip that you had, Pete. I mean, this was excellent. I really appreciate the debrief and all the extra intel, but let's keep hitting the ground running.
Yeah, and
Okay,
I'll say
guys.
something real quick, Pete. If I've been having some email difficulties, so if you haven't received that info, especially the Canva deck deal, the webinar, I'll be sending it out again soon. And if you haven't got it, hit me or Pete up, and we'll get you something.
All right. Mike, Mail Jail Escobedo, Life Anderson, Pete Schnepp, your dream team. All right, let's do it. We'll see you guys later.
You guys are awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
See ya.
See y'all.